Ever since we decided to develop a Klip-Lok clip, which we've named Supadek Clip, back in 2017, we've always wanted to do a detailed display on how to install. There's several ways to install it, but the ways that we've developed are well accepted through the industry. Builders, roofers, everybody, they come to this product because it is well fitted. It complies to all roofing standards and plumbing standards, as well as with all the bell ratings needing to be adhered to. We now know that this is the go-to product, and we're able to get a really, really nice neat finish on this and a really good seal. So when fittings to a box gutter, probably the most important thing is getting the width of the material right. Most of the kits you'll find that the standard width's 250, 500 work, but with a box gutter and a Klip-Lok roof, it's really important that we get the width correct, because it really only needs to be onto the roof by anywhere between 120 and 150 millimetre. We're looking at anywhere in that gap is where we want the length of the mesh to finish. So to find that length, what you need to do to measure the distance between the box gutter wall and then add 50 mil to fit it to the wall. So to try and get a straight line on this roof, the perfect setup would be just to get a string line and just mark either end at a point where you think is right. But generally I'd get some sort of indication by putting on a trim flat to the roof, and then just marking at that point where we want this mesh to sit flat across this roof. That might be slightly low because you've got a little bit of an angle here, a 2 to 3 degree angle, and because of that might be slightly low. But what I'd probably do, the easiest way to come up with an even line across here for me would be to find out how low that is compared to the top of the capping, whether it's 5 mil, 20 mil, 500 mil, it doesn't really matter. And I'm looking at about 50 mil there. I add the trim, which is an extra 25. So I'm thinking somewhere like 20 mil down from the top would be my mark for the top of my trim. Again, chalk line would be probably easier, especially in longer runs going from end to end. But those two marks now are the height of where I'm going to run the trim. And I would suggest that the mesh, where you start pre-fitting the mesh, is just under that line. So then what we'll do is this, when you finally put this trim on, that will cover the mesh. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get the mesh pinned to the box gutter. I want the mesh to be just under that line. That will give me a starting point. And then I can work as I go further down, but I'll get a starting point with that just under that line there. Generally, 1 each end is enough, probably every 4 metres if it's longer than 4 metres. Okay, so to give us a line all the way through, hold it in place, try to tack it the other end, you can adjust it. I'm going to remove this screw here, which is our pinning screw. I'm going to replace that screw now. Firstly with silicone, in case I miss the hole with my replacement screw. If you can't use the same hole, you definitely have to fill it with silicone. If you're going to remove any screw, you usually need to silicone that area. And then when we over trim it, and we try and go in the same hole, but if we don't go in the same hole, the original hole will be sealed. We will then use a screw with a neoprene washer, so it helps with the external sealing on the outside of the trim. Now as we go, we line them back up with the markings that we had on the gutter previously. I probably need another one generally say 4 per trim, or every 250 millimetres. Start off our next trim. We use the pilot hole. Each trim is 103 centimetres long, so just go over the edge again of the mesh. So we're covering the top of the mesh. Same the whole way along. Now is going to give you this perfect seal with the best Klip-Lok fitting system. So now that we've fully sealed it with the trims and fixed it to the box cutter, the aim is to try and get this down so that it's flat. We don't want the restriction of water. If we cut it here and we just fit it here, what you'll have is you'll have an angle where things can catch against it, and it's a build-up point that we know can cause flooding, and especially if there's other downpipes coming onto this roof or heavy rain, it may do it as well. So now our next stage is that we need to make all the cuts on the whole run so that we can make sure the whole thing sits flat all the way along. There can be some variations depending on the height of the roof and how straight you've got your box cutter fixed. All of these ribs, we need to cut them all out. You would cut either side of the top of the rib. So you cut 2 cuts all the way down the top of the rib to around about 70 mil. You need about 30 mil, and then once you get to about 70 mil or 30 millimetre from the edge of the roof, you then fan off. And the reason why you do that, you do a lot of vermin proofing, bird proofing, and also for ember proofing. It will cover the end of the rib. So line them up with the top of the rib, go down for about 70 millimetres or 30 mil from the end, and then just start to fan out towards the end. That leaves you with a tag. That tag will then sit down. Once we get this flat to the pan, that tag will then sit down. It will run back over the top, and we'll put our clip in it to hold it all in place. The clip will also hold the sides. We'll just go through and cut all them. Now we're going to slide it into its position where it'll all sit flat with the pan of the roof. And once we push it a little bit forward, start to press it inside the pans. It will allow the water to filter through the box gutter while also protecting the whole roof without causing any flooding. Even the ember guards at this point will still allow the water to get through because it is always lower than this roof. Run down our first one and show you how easy this is to fit. You're best off doing is getting the screw through the screw hole and through the mesh. So if you can line up the screw hole with just catching the mesh, this will just help strengthen the tag that we run over the top. As you can see, lining it up, just catching the edge of it. I normally just snap them into place with a rounded edge at the front, square edge to the back. As you can see, that's starting to hold this down already. Screw it off. Done. Our normal 8 gauge by 15 screw. It'll never ever leak through here. We don't need a neoprene washer. It doesn't have any effect because it's over the top of the clip anyway. There's your first clip in. Same the whole way along. Now is going to give you this perfect seal, the best Klip-Lok fitting system, gutter screening system with the perfect clip to suit this Klip-Lok roof.